We're going to go through some very exciting topics, things that you need to know. We're going to talk about why rehabbing is a good idea. We're going to talk about your property pipeline, which is how do you source your properties. We're going to talk about repairing your credit in order for you to get a loan, in order to buy more properties, in order even to buy your first property. We're going to talk about what you're going to do in the first 45 days, as well as what you're going to do in the last 90 days. We're going to even talk about your team. Who's on your team? I have never known a successful winning team without the right players. So we're going to get into that as well. So this is Module 1, how to fix, flip, and profit from property rehab in 90 days or less. So, now I've been in real estate for quite some time, but did I always start off in real estate? No. Everyone has to have a beginning, and mine wasn't necessarily flipping properties. I started off in government, and government didn't treat me very well. I didn't like it. I didn't have a lot of fun in it, and I was looking for a way out. And not only that, it didn't afford me the lifestyle that I was really looking for. So what did I decide to do? I decided to become a real estate appraiser. Now, as a real estate appraiser, things were going great. I had did 2 years as an apprentice. I had built up a small team of appraisers, and I was making money. But I was also still a slave to the work that I was putting into. So I decided to expand and get further into trying to form an appraisal company. Now, what happened? Like all things, if you try to plan something, it doesn't necessarily go the way you think it's going to go. Regulation came. They changed my business. I was no longer able to build a business just by knocking on doors, so to speak. My appraisal business went down. I started losing money. I was no longer able to afford the condo I was living in. But real estate was still tried and true to my heart, so I decided to take a Hail Mary toss. People were making money in rehab. So I said to myself, these people aren't superhuman. I can do this too. Let me give it a try. I tried to rehab my first property, and I did say try. Hold on to that word. I linked up with my sister, and I asked her, I said, look, my barber just made $40,000. The school teacher just told me about this time she made $60,000. People were making money and driving BMWs all throughout the city, so why couldn't I? She agreed, and we went into our first real estate rehab. Now, mind you, this rehab was, it was in the city. It was a frame house, and what we did is what I like to call putting lipstick on a pig. Cosmetic rehab, but people were getting away with cosmetic rehabs and still making $100,000. So I decided to do the same. We went into the property, rehabbed it, made it look cute. I wouldn't call it beautiful, but it was something that could be sold. So before we even finished the rehab, someone came knocking on the door. What happened was they put a full price contract on our property and they wanted to buy it. So yes, we were excited about it and things were going great. We move on in time, and about 2 weeks before the close, we don't hear from the buyer. So where's the buyer at? Now, I had already counted my money in my head. We were going to split $80,000, $40 for me and $40 for my sister. So my money was already sort of spent. But 2 weeks, we couldn't find this guy. We ended up contacting his broker. We ended up contacting his lawyer. Nothing. The day of the closing, what happens? This guy is still a no-show. We don't see where he's at. We can't find him. We did not close on this property, even though we had already put $10,000 into it, plus a little bit extra money doing some of the rehab. After that, I come to find out that there's a $20,000 water bill on the property. Then the property goes into foreclosure. And then I'm sitting in the middle of my now apartment with the lights out, not knowing what to do because I can't pay my electricity bill. I can't even pay the heat at this point in time. So what should I have done at that moment? I could have gave up, but I didn't. What did I decide to do? I decided to keep going, seek further information, gain the knowledge that I need, and try to move forward from there, which is exactly what I did. I moved on from there. I found a way. I learned what I needed to learn, and I have flipped a number of properties since then, and each time I got better at it. So that's where I began, but where I ended up at is exactly where you're going to end up at if you pay attention and if you focus and if you follow the procedures and rules that I'm going to give you today. Let's fast forward to today. I bring this slide up because I want you to be able to see the type of work that I'm doing now so that you can also understand that it's not only possible, it is also the type of work that you can be doing as well. This is a property that we rehab. We did a lot of work on the outside of it. We rehabbed the entire inside. We put in new baths, new cabinetry, new kitchen, new flooring, new everything. And the end client was very pleased at how this property came out. Let's now talk about why you should get into rehab in the first place. I know it may seem something that looks sexy, something that your friends told you should be into, but let's talk about really why you should get into property rehab or real estate in general. So I'm going to give it 6 fundamental reasons why you should get into it. One of them is equity. Another one is appreciation, residual cash flow. There are some tax benefits. It will help you build a legacy for your heirs, as well as help you actually establish a system of wealth. And I think it's important at this part to talk about what each of these things mean. So what's equity? Well, equity is that amount that your property is actually worth in the market versus actually what you owe on it. That place in between those two numbers is your equity, and equity has power. What can you do with your equity? You can take that equity and send your kid to school. You can take that equity, pull it out, and buy a car at a rate that's much less than what the car dealership would charge you. You can take that equity and you can use it ultimately to buy other property, which is called equity farming, right? So equity has power, and it is something that you should absolutely use. Let's talk about appreciation. What's appreciation? If I buy a house right now, just to use simple numbers, at $100,000, that house has the opportunity to appreciate, and very often it will. So what is appreciation? If I buy it at $100,000, next year, let's say the other houses sell for an amount higher than that. Let's say the other houses of the same kind, same type of house that you have are now selling for $110,000. It could mean that your property can sell for that as well. That's called appreciation, and it too has power. Let's talk about residual cash flow. Now this is more of a stage 2 big boy game, and I say that because residual cash flow is when you start to get into apartment buildings. And I don't care if that's a 2-flat, a 3-flat, a 4-unit, or even a 6-unit or 24-unit. Residual cash flow is king. A lot of people say cash is king. No, cash flow is king. And how do you get that? You're going to take that apartment building, you're going to put people in it, you're going to go ahead and rent those units out. That money is going to add up to a monthly amount. That monthly amount is going to add up to an annual amount. At the end of the day, as long as you're getting a check on a monthly basis, that is called residual cash flow. And you can get that through real estate. Let's talk about tax benefits. What a lot of people don't know is that anytime you flip a property, which is what you're going to do, right? You're going to flip your property, and you're going to get a lump sum of money. The government always wants theirs. And you may have to pay capital gains tax on that money. But you can defer that actual capital gains tax if you invest into another property. What's the benefits of deferring it? Well, why pay now when you can pay later? So it's a good idea to get tax benefits from the property that you're going to rehab or the real estate that you're going to purchase. Legacy building. I mention this because you can take your real estate property, you can put it into a trust, you can take that trust, and then you can put that trust into your kid's name. That property is then going to allow them an asset that they can use when they become of age or anytime that you designate that they should have that property. That's going to help build your legacy far and beyond where you're at now in your life. So, yeah, we are going to pass one day, and who doesn't want to leave something to their kids or to their loved ones who are still going to be around once they're said and gone? That's a bigger vision and a bigger idea than actually just flipping property to make money. Let's go ahead and legacy build while we're at it. And then wealth. As many of you may have already known, real estate is one of the biggest ways to gain wealth. And some people are gaining wealth and they don't even know it. They bought a house, they've lived in it 5-6 years. Imagine, your parents have stayed in their house for quite some time. Or you have some older people who have stayed in their house and actually paid it off. What happens is all those other things we just mentioned are still at play. Those forces are still at work. That property over 30 years is going to appreciate. That property is going to gain equity. That property is going to have all type of powers that you may not have known about previously. And that is going to help either you or your heirs build some type of wealth platform. And more so for you, you can take that and, as I mentioned, buy other pieces of property. And then you can take that and make moves and play it like a chessboard, if you will. That can help you build a level of wealth that many other instruments cannot do. Yes, you can make money in the stock market. Yes, you can make money from your job. You can do a number of different things to make money, but all those things may or may not build wealth the way real estate does. So I think those are some very good reasons to get into real estate. And I think those are reasons that you should take into consideration.